Yes! Yes! Let's go! Come on, let's go! The Philadelphia Flyers, first place. First place Philadelphia Flyers. I like the sound of that. I really do. I like the sound of that a lot. The Philadelphia Flyers beat the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 4-1. The Flyers go undefeated in the round-robin tournament. I need a brick wall. I need a brick wall. I need one. I need one right now. I need a brick wall right now to run through. I need it. I really, really need it. This game, this Flyers team, unbelievable. Simply unbelievable. Granted, it's only the round-robin tournament. But hey, the Flyers got themselves in a fantastic position right now to succeed. They really, really do. And hey, today wasn't the cleanest of games. It was not. But you know what matters? They grinded. They mucked and grinded. They got the win. They got the job done. And they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-1 to claim first place in the Eastern Conference. Simply unbelievable, boys. Unbelievable. And the Flyers, they will face the Montreal Canadiens in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The playoffs start Tuesday. We don't know when the Flyers are going to be starting their series, but hey, gonna need a ton of brick walls to run right through to get hyped up for that series. I think we all need some brick walls right here. We all need some brick walls to run through. And like I said, I really need a brick wall right now. I need many. I need 4, I need 5, I need 6, maybe 10, 100 brick walls to run straight through right now. That's how hyped I am for this Flyers team right now. And hey, I haven't had a chance to be this hype for a Flyers team in a long time. None of us have. It's a great moment. It's a great feeling right now. It's a very, very great feeling to have right now. So, let's get into the game at hand. The game at hand. The Flyers, like I said, was not the prettiest of games, but they got the job done. They managed to hold off the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay, in the end of that game, they had a lot of chances at the end of that game. But the Flyers, they settled down defensively. They made sure Tampa Bay did not get many chances. And they sealed the deal. Aube-Kubel, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, had himself a game. 2 goals in the first period. And hey, Shayne Gostisbehere was involved in some of those goals as well. Shayne Gostisbehere was slotted into the lineup today, replacing Robert Haig. Shayne Gostisbehere looked really good today. I'm not going to lie, he looked pretty good. He looked really good. And he was one of the main setups on that first Flyers goal. The Flyers get a forced turnover from Tampa Bay. Goes on the stick of Grant. Goes to Shayne Gostisbehere. He's on the point. He's on the blue line. He takes a simple wrister, puts it on the net. And Nicholas Aube-Kubel has the stick in the right place to redirect it past Vasilevsky. And the Flyers take a 1-0 lead. And then, a little later in that first period, the Flyers force another turnover in the neutral zone. And this is sort of a mismatch of lines because you got Sean Couturier out there with a 2-on-1 with Nicholas Aube-Kubel. You got a 2-on-1 right there. And a beautiful pass from Sean Couturier. A little flutter pass over to his stick. And it goes right on the stick of Aube-Kubel. And he buries it. One-times it. Past Vasilevsky. It's a 2-0 Flyers lead after the first period. And the Flyers didn't get off to the hardest of starts. They weathered the storm. I don't know if you could say that's a pun intended because they were playing the Lightning, but hey, they weathered the storm. The Flyers, they managed to settle down. They got their goals in the first period, and they got a 2-0 lead in the first period. Granted, there was a few mistakes going on through the way. Kucherov had a breakaway. There are a few other chances for the Lightning. Matt Niskanen making a terrible pass on the blue line in the Tampa Bay zone, which led to that Kucherov breakaway, but thank God Carter Hart was in the net. Thank God we had Carter Hart to be our Lord and Savior today. Also for a post because Kucherov did hit the post on one of those shots. But Carter Hart, even though he didn't face that many shots, some of them were pretty dangerous. And he was up to the task. And he was pretty good. He was pretty good in that first period. Now we go to the second period. This is where I don't want to judge the Flyers that much, but I'm going to be nitpicky right here. because they put themselves in a little bit of a bad situation. They take a couple of penalties in a row, Provorov with a slashing, and then I'm going to judge Aube-Kubel right here because he takes a dumb cross-checking penalty. He had a very fantastic first period. He had a great game all around. But this is the one flaw from his game today. He takes a dumb cross-checking penalty. Granted, he is a rookie. He's going to make those mistakes. But you cannot take a penalty right there after you just came off of a penalty kill. And you're going right back on it. And you know what Tampa Bay does? They score on it. It's Tyler Johnson in the slot. After there's a little bit of a miscommunication between Ivan Provorov and Matt Niskanen. You got one of the Tampa Bay players coming up the right side. Provorov loses his footing a little bit. Matt Niskanen thinks the puck's going to go behind the net. It doesn't. It doesn't go around it, so he's stuck behind the net, and then you get Tyler Johnson in the slot, who puts it past Carter Hart for a 2-1 Flyers lead. And then Tampa Bay, they're getting their chances. The Flyers are getting their chances as well. So it's pretty more of an even pace, I would say, in the second period. And I would say Tampa Bay, they were a very gritty team. They were a much different team compared to last year's. Last year's, I would say, compare them to a very dynamic team. They were a very skilled team. They relied a lot on their offense and skill to get them through the games. Of course, Andrei Vasilevsky as well. He was a beast in net. But hey, I would say they beefed up a little bit. They beefed up. And one thing I forgot to mention in the first period as well, it was before the Aube-Kubel, both of his goals. So there was a play with Tyler Pitlick. He was coming into the Tampa Bay zone. He was going one-on-one with Victor Hedman, the Lightning's top defenseman. And he kind of loses an edge. He kind of falls down. He gets up. He's grimacing a little bit. And that was what allowed Tyler Pitlick to go around him. He fell. It looked like he tripped on his own feet or one of his ankles just gave out. And he got up. He was grimacing. He went back to the bench. He really couldn't put any pressure on that foot that he fell over. And he goes into the locker room, and then you can see him banging the stick on the side of the railing. And you know that was a bad sign right there. Because you know when players are going back to the locker room and they're just breaking everything going back there, you know there's something wrong. You know there's probably a bad injury right there. And hopefully everything's good right there with Victor Hedman because he did not return to the game. And the same thing with Tampa Bay. They don't have Steven Stamkos because he's out indefinitely right now. Even though they're not allowed to specifically say what's wrong with them and how long they're out for, he's out indefinitely. So you don't know the situation with Victor Hedman. They don't know the situation with Stamkos. That's a tough situation for Tampa Bay right there. But going back into the second period, 2-1 Flyers lead. Flyers are in the Tampa Bay zone. They force yet again another turnover, and it's the first line out there. No Jake Voracek. He was unavailable to play this game. You get Joel Farabee sliding in on that first line. And then Shayne Gostisbehere gets involved into the play as well. Sean Couturier gets the puck, hands it over to Gostisbehere, who makes a nice cross-feed pass to Joel Farabee, who is wide open on the right side. One-times it past Vasilevsky. 3-1 Flyers. And good for Joel Farabee right there. It's his first game on the first line during this round-robin tournament, playing for Jake Voracek. He was getting a little bit unlucky in the past game against Washington. He had a lot of chances in that game to score. He gets on the board. Good for Joel Farabee to get on the board right there. Fantastic goal, fantastic pass right there from Shayne Gostisbehere. 3-1 Flyers lead. Then we go to the third period. And this is where Tampa Bay starts to get on the Flyers a lot. This third period was all Tampa Bay. And I mean all Tampa Bay. Pretty much the entire third period was in the Flyers zone. And credit, I will give the Flyers defense some credit. They kept Tampa Bay to the outside. They weren't really giving them many dangerous chances. A lot of the shots came from the outside. They had to keep them to the walls. But there were some instances where some things could have been avoided, where really there was a lot of puck possession in the Flyers' defensive zone, and the Flyers couldn't get the puck out. There were a lot of chances where guys like Phil Myers, Travis Sanheim, could not clear the puck out of the zone. Sanheim had like 3-4 chances in a row to use the wall and get the puck out. He uses the wall, wasn't hard enough, and a Tampa Bay defenseman was right there to get the puck. So there were a lot of instances in that period where the Flyers could not clear the zone. But they did manage to settle down defensively. They kept Tampa Bay to the walls. They kept them to the outside, kept shots to the outside. And they weren't really able to generate that many chances. So I have to give credit where credit is due to the Flyers defense. They settled down. They mucked and grinded throughout that entire third period because it was all Tampa Bay. The Flyers barely had any chances The Flyers had maybe one or two chances for a break going the other way. They really couldn't get anything going. It felt like a lot in that third period. The puck was just bouncing off and on the Flyers' sticks. They really just couldn't seem to find any sense of control in that third period. So they just had to settle it down. They had to stick to their defensive game. They had to stick to it. And they did it. And you have to give credit to them. It was a very sloppy third period, but the Flyers, they got the job done. They got the job done. And during the end of that period, Tampa Bay decides to pull Vasilevsky to get the extra attacker on there, and Scott Laughton clears it down the length of the ice, hits the post, and then you get Tyler Pitlick rushing in the net, and he buries the puck in there. And it's a 4-1 Flyers lead, and that's how your game is going to end. 4-1 Flyers win. Flyers are first place in the Eastern Conference. They will play the Montreal Canadiens, who are the 12th seed, and the Montreal Canadiens just embarrassed the Pittsburgh Penguins in their qualifying round series. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due to Montreal. Pittsburgh, even though Montreal, I would say Montreal was outplayed for a majority of that series. But Pittsburgh, they just they weren't able to get it done. They looked unfocused, they looked unmotivated, and Montreal took advantage of that. Carey Price didn't, I would say he did not steal that series from Montreal. He played very good. Wasn't the main reason that Montreal won that series. I think Pittsburgh's majority of the blame to there, but I would not take Montreal lightly at all. I would not. And I know the Flyers, I know Alain Vigneault, he's not going to take Montreal that lightly. And it's going to be one hell of a series. It's definitely going to be one hell of a series. I guarantee it. You got Carter Hart going up against his childhood idol and Carey Price. Imagine that. Imagine going into your first playoff series and you're going up against your childhood idol. Yeah, kid, you go up against the guy you were rooting for your entire childhood. Just think about that. Think of what that's going to be like for Hart. It's going to be amazing. He's going to have a ton of goosebumps going into that series, but I expect him to be fantastic. Carter Hart has been amazing the entire round-robin tournament, and the Flyers, throughout the 3 round-robin games, they only allowed 1 goal each in each game. Defense has been pretty good, but the one thing I do have to criticize about this team, right now, they got to score on the power play. They've had a lot of power plays throughout these 3 round-robin games, and they haven't scored 1 goal on the power play. Maybe the power play, those are some of those instances where that can change the game, where that can be the deciding factor in winning the game. But the Flyers' penalty kill, they've only allowed 1 goal on the penalty kill throughout the entire round-robin tournament, and that was today against Tampa Bay. But I'm very confident in this team. I do believe they can get the power play up and going again. It's just getting that confidence back in there, getting that groove, getting that rhythm back in there. And I believe they can do it. But one thing, you cannot take Montreal lightly. You just cannot. Pittsburgh, I don't want to say they did, but I kind of feel like they did at the same time. Because they just looked very unmotivated during that entire series, especially in that Game 4 where they were shut out 2-0. I feel like that Game 3 for Pittsburgh, when they blew that 3-1 lead, it just took the motivation right out of them. It did. So the Flyers, they got to be ready for this series. They got to be very ready. And then just looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay, after losing this game, they're going to be facing either Toronto or Columbus. And Columbus and Toronto, they've had a very back-and-forth series. A couple nights ago, Toronto blew a 3-goal lead to Columbus and then lost in overtime. And then the very next night, Columbus blew a 3-goal lead in the final 2 minutes to Toronto, and Toronto ends up winning it in overtime. So you got a Game 5 tomorrow night. That's going to be very nice. And then you get the last 2 round-robin games as well. And there's just upsets around the corner in these qualifying rounds. You get both 12 seeds beating the 5th seeds. Well, I guess it's 2020. Anything happens. And this is the Stanley Cup playoffs. Remember last year where none of the first-place teams made it out of the first round, and all the bottom seed teams did? I guess that's kind of the new norm for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I guess it just is at this point, but hey, Flyers hockey, it's better than ever. I need a brick wall. I need a brick wall very badly. And recorded a podcast tonight on this Flyers game, recapped it. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for the Flyered Up podcast, so go check that out as well. And that's going to be it for this recap of the Philadelphia Flyers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So what are your thoughts about this game? What are your thoughts about the first place Philadelphia Flyers? What are your thoughts on them going into Montreal? I might have a video up in the next few days or so talking about maybe previewing that series against Montreal. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We'll see when the actual schedule gets announced. But hey, I want to know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on this game? What are your thoughts on the Flyers going into Montreal? How do you want them to approach it? I want to know your thoughts. So don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to drop a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time.